How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video on the channel. This is a requested one, and it is going to be the 5 things I hate, dislike, don't enjoy about my Range Rover Velar. Hate's a pretty strong word. I wouldn't say I hate any of these things, but they do get on my nerves quite a bit, and some of them don't happen regularly, don't happen too often, but the things that do get on your nerves, especially when you're paying the money off for a car. You want things to always work and you want things to always go well, but sometimes everything has its bugs, everything has its glitches. So we're going to run you through the 5 things I don't like about my Range Rover. So the first thing we're going to start off with in this video is something I don't like and I wish I had have changed now looking back at it on the spec of the car, and that is the grey aspect of the car. So you've got the bottom skirt there, the grille and the writing across the front of the bonnet, and that is because I didn't spec the black pack on this. I do like how these are contrasting with the rose gold on the front, as well as the bonnet here with the side wing of the car being a different contrasting colour. But when I look at other cars which do have the black pack installed, this I think looks much better black or body colour. It's something I didn't spec because I thought it'll be a bit different. I have the grey on the front, and don't get us wrong, it's not a hate, it's not something I completely despise looking at whenever I see it, but when you do compare it with other cars with the black pack, I think it looks a lot more mean to have the black pack. It looks a lot more aggressive, and I think it kind of suits the lines of the car better when it is blacked out. I don't mind too much the Range Rover writing being in the grey. I quite like that you can see it, but I think it does look just as good, if not better, black. The bottom bumper, yeah, I'm the same with that. I don't mind that it's grey, but I think it does give it a more aggressive stance when it is in the black. The only thing is, it does go with the wheels, the alloys being in the dark slate sort of grey colour. Apologies for how dirty the car is. It has been parked under these trees for a few days now, so it's got dusty. With the black pack, obviously you would get the black strip along here on the side skirt that would be blacked out, which I do quite like in the grey, but at the same time that is only because of the grille being grey that I like that. So that is the first thing that I would have possibly changed if I could. I know you can get online, you can buy OEM grills which you can fit and put on, or you can buy aftermarket ones with a slightly different design in the grill, but it's not something I've looked into, and it was in the car for 2 years like this. I don't really see the point in changing it now. Maybe at the beginning, if I wanted it and it bugged us that much, I would have changed it, but again, it's not a hate, it's not something I completely can't stand. It doesn't bother us all that much, but it is something I would have changed had I had the opportunity to. Coming round to the back of the car, again, the black pack is something else I would have changed on the rear of the car. You've obviously got the very light silver bumper aspect there with the darker grey inset, and the trim around the above it where it holds all the cameras. I think that looks much better in black. It does give it a different look to it when it's in the grey, but the one thing that does look better when it is blacked out is this strip here turns black, so you can't see that panel on the door, on the rear quarter, and also all of the little sensors on the car. When it is a black pack, you can't see the sensors as much, you can't make them out. I don't know what this little circle is here, but obviously if that's black you can't see it, and the whole back of the car would be black. It wouldn't be this contrasting of almost 3 different colours on the back of the car, where you've got the black, the lighter gunmetal sort of grey, and then the basically silver again, that weird strip where it's got the U shape. It's not something, if it was anything, that is the bit of the car that I don't like the most. I would definitely look to change that. It is difficult to change this bottom aspect silver. I think if that wasn't silver and it was the same colour as the grey on the rest of the trim, I think it would look a lot better. I don't know why Land Rover have went with that silver, but they have. So yeah, that's the second one. If I could have blacked that out, I would. I haven't seen anything online where you can change that bottom, the main silver bumper, and I haven't seen anything where you can change the whole rear bumper into something else, but I will look into it. I know you can wrap these things, but I don't know how the wrapping would be on a different colour. Coming inside the car for the last 3 things that are nice about this car. And the first one we've got, so this might be a good example. When we come into the car and you start it up, the screens tilt up, but there is a slight delay in the screens coming on. So as you can see, that bottom screens came on, top screens came on, and then it's all ready to go. I know it's a very slight delay, but if you haven't drove the car for a few days, or you haven't been in the car for maybe a week or whatever using it, that delay from a few seconds can become 15-20 seconds, and you're waiting for the screens to wake up, you're waiting for everything to come on. And sometimes you get in the car and you want to turn it straight into eco, straight into dynamic or whatever. You're obviously waiting for that to happen. This main screen comes on pretty quickly either way, but yeah, the infotainment, the settings, the seats, the climate screen, all of that can take its time to come on. And sometimes you get this weird sort of black screen that the screen has came on, but it's not displaying anything, and you can be driving for 3 or 4 minutes before the screen actually kicks in. Or you'll be coming to an end of a drive and you'll go to park and the screen might freeze. So when you put it in reverse to see the camera, the camera doesn't actually come on, making it really difficult to park. Obviously this only happens, the freezing only happens 1 in every 50 drives, say, and that is something very rare, but it's something that when you're spending the money or in a car like this, you don't want this screen to freeze or that screen to freeze. There's also times where this screen, so if you bring up the settings, it obviously is quite slowly responsive. If you bring this up, you can change the angle of the screen, and as you can see, look, it's a bit slow to respond sometimes, and that's because I haven't been in the car for a week. So yeah, they can be slow, it can be a bit buggy, and it can be a bit laggy sometimes, especially if it's due an upgrade or an update, should I say. And then I'm going to plug the phone in now, and once it's in other cars, Apple CarPlay comes on a lot quicker than that. I know it's not terribly slow, and I know it's not something that's really too bothered by people, but it is a slow process of putting the phone in and then waiting for Apple CarPlay to come on. If you haven't drove the car, obviously I have drove this morning, if you haven't drove the car in like a week, Apple CarPlay can sometimes take a minute or two to load up and actually work, which is a bit frustrating, especially if you've put something into maps on your phone and you just want it to drive off and go straight to your destination. It can take a while to load in, and you're kind of waiting around for Apple CarPlay to start so you know where you end up going. So that is the third thing I don't like about this car, how slow these 2 screens can be. I know Land Rover have got a bit of a reputation for not being reliable in terms of the infotainment and the electronics of the car. And I say it like it is such a terrible thing and it drives us mad, but it is rare that these are laggy or crash or freeze, but they do take a while to get going on some mornings. Coming on to the 4th thing that frustrates us about this car sometimes, and that is how differentiating the fuel tank is in this car and the consumption that you do. Yes, it's not a Lamborghini, it's not a Ferrari, it's not a high performance vehicle where you're getting under 10 miles per gallon or low teens mile per gallon. You can get a decent miles per gallon in this car, but the problem is the fuel tank for such a big car seems so small, and you seem to be filling up once, maybe twice every few weeks. I think the worst it is, I've filled up 2 or 3 times in 1 week to do not even much driving. It's not an SVR, it's not a huge guzzler of fuel, but it does drink fuel for what it is. So as you can see, I've got 43 miles in it at the minute and I'm near empty. Flick this over, and our average living in London 10 miles an hour. That's no speed at all, and the fuel consumption is 34.7 miles per gallon, which isn't ludicrous, but if you were to do 10 miles an hour on average in most other vehicles, you're probably looking at high 40s, 50s, 60s for your miles per gallon. And when you fill this car up, so for me to fill this up from 43 miles, if I was to put a full tank into this, it would cost us about £65–70 to put this to full, and that fuel would only give us around 390 to 420, depending on obviously the weather outside, my recent driving, and what type of roads I'm going to be driving on. So fill a car up for £70 and only get 400 miles is, especially in such a big car, it isn't ideal. I fill up the Audi with £60 say from empty, and sometimes that'll tell us I've got 700 miles or late 600 miles on the clock to go until I need to refill. So yeah, the fourth thing about this car is the fuel consumption. I can't complain because it's not terribly bad, but it is frustrating when you spend quite a lot of your time driving around and seeing the fuel gauge go down and knowing you haven't done that many miles. The fifth and final thing that I don't enjoy about this car sometimes, and again this is a rare one, it might be 1 in every 25 drives or something, but that is the speakers in the car. Sometimes you'll get in, you'll play your music and you'll hear pops and crackles coming from the speakers. It's sort of like a frequency noise, and it's as if you haven't plugged your phone in properly. So what I do when I get in the car, turn the car on, I open up this, come into here, grab the aux, and I plug this little wire in, and that goes and starts off my CarPlay, and I listen to my music through the car. The problem is you sometimes get a popping and a crackling coming from the speakers, and it can be in certain speakers as well. So it might come from this speaker specifically, or that bottom speaker here, where it seems as if it's got a crackle effect to it, as if you haven't plugged your aux in properly. I've never heard it coming from any of the back speakers, but I don't know if that's just because I can't make out where the sound's coming from particularly. And it is annoying. You pay for an upgraded sound system, you don't want it to pop, you don't want it to crackle, and you don't want it to have any issues, but you do sometimes get in the car and you can't stop with the noise. You unplug your phone, you plug your phone back in, you change to the radio, you change to a different source, and it's still cracking and popping to the point where it sounds like it's breaking or you've had it too loud. This is a common problem in Range Rovers. I've googled online, seen forums saying yeah, this happens in a number of them, but when you're paying so much, you don't want it to happen at all. I have spoke to people at Land Rover before, and they've said there's no real fix to it other than a software update coming out, but you never know when that's going to come out and how long it's going to take, and the only way you can fix it is just put up with it and it slowly dies down and stops, or you stop and start your engine and open the door and lock the door and just hope that it goes away. So that is the final thing that does drive us a bit mad with this car when it happens, because you just are thinking of the money you spent on the Meridian sound system for it to then pop and crackle at times. So yeah guys, that is the 5 things that frustrate me, that I sometimes hate, sometimes dislike about the car. Don't get us wrong, the car is fantastic and 9 times out of 10 it does absolutely everything I want it to do, but there is things with life in everything where there's things you don't like, things that get on your nerves and things that frustrate you. Those are the 5 things in this car, and I could probably think of so many more better things that this car provides than the things that it doesn't. So yeah, thanks for watching the video. I'll catch us all in another one. Please like, comment and subscribe. Cheers.